go. Let's go. This is objective 56. Let's get this thing kicked off here with a beat. In 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. First on objective 56, before we actually follow with the notes, I do want to talk a little bit about exponents because that's what we're going to talk about. Exponents. What is an exponent? What does it mean? Say I had 2 to the third. What's 2 to the third mean?
2 times 3. Yeah.
2 times 3?
No, 2 times 2 times 2.
2 times 2 times. It's repeated multiplication. 2, 2, 2. Now let's do it. What's 2 times 2?
4.
Times 2?
8.
So 2 to the third is 8. Let's say I did 5 to the 6th. 5 to the 6th means what? 5 times 5. That's going to be huge though, isn't it? 5 times 5 times 5.
I got you.
It's going to be huge because it's really, that's like 25 and then another 25 times 25 times 25. It's huge. It's huge. What is it?
30.
Bigger.
625.
It's 15,625.
Yeah.
And imagine if I added 5 to the 7th, that would be 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Another 5, that would be even bigger. It would be, what?
7, 8, 1, 2, 5.
So it's like 78,000 something, right? Yeah. So it gets huge. So the one more, like every time that the exponent goes up, you're multiplying by 5 one more time, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger really, really quick. So keep that in mind. What we're going to do with exponents today, though, we're going to take fractions to exponents, which is a little different. But there's a couple of basic rules I want to cover that is going to make it like some really easy ones so that you don't have to think too much. If you just know these first 2 basic rules, anytime that you have a number, I don't care if it's a fraction or not, if a number has a 0 power, it's always going to be what?
1.
1. It's always going to be 1. So if I took any number at all and took it to the 0 power, that's 1. Carter, give me a number. 52 to the 0 power is 1. Patrick, give me a number.
77.
77 to the 0 power, what's it going to be? 1. Is 1. Even a fraction to the 0 power is 1. So what you need to know when you're working these, when you get something to the 0 power, it's going to be, what's this one? 1. Negative 8 thirds to the 0 power.
Not even a negative 1? 1.
Anything. Negative numbers, positive numbers to the 0. Make sure that you, when you put them in your calculator, you try it like this. Negative 8 thirds to the 0 power. Still positive 1. And then negative 3/7 to the 0 power. Still positive 1. So anything to the 0 power is 1. Anything to the 1 power is what? That number, or we'll say itself. Anything to the 1 power is itself. So 5/8 to the 1 power is 5/8. 9/11 to the 1 power.
9/11.
And then negative 3/7 to the 1 power is
Negative 3/7.
negative 3/7. Like that. So there's 2 easy tricks. When you're working these problems and then you see something with a 0 power, well, it's always going to be 1. Don't even calculate it. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. It's 1. Anything to the 1 power is itself. Now let's look at what happens when you take a fraction to something that's not a 0 or a 1. So we're going to start out with one that's a 2. When you take a fraction, you know fractions have a numerator and denominator. When you take a fraction to a power, what you can do is take the power to the top and take the power to the bottom. So we got 7/5 squared. It's the same as saying 7 squared over 5 squared. And you can do that without a calculator. What's 7 squared?
49.
For now, what's 5 squared? 25. Now, your calculator, especially this calculator, will do this, but if the powers get really big, it won't actually kick out a nice fraction for you. A 2 power it will. 7 over 5. How about 7 over 5? So I put 7/5 in there squared. It will kick out 49 over 25. But if the power gets to be too big, It'll probably do a 3 power, but I doubt it does a 4 power. Oh, and a 5 power.
Ooh.
Well, if I did, it won't do 9 to the 5th. There it goes. After a 5 power, 6 power and on up, it won't kick out a fraction. It's going to kick out a decimal. So you kind of still need to know. We can figure it out if we'll just do the top to the exponent and bottom to the exponent. So the bottom one right here, 4 ninths to the 4th. That's the same as the top being what?
4 to the 4.
4, 4, 4 to the 4, and 9 to the 4. See, can we do 4 to the 4? 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 4 is pretty big.
It's 256.
What do we know what 16 times 4 is?
No.
You know what 16 times 2 is?
2, 56.
32.
Yeah, 16 times 4 is 64, and then 64 times 4 is 216. Is that what we're saying?
256.
256. And then 9 to the 4th is really big as well. What's 9 to the 4th?
6,561.
61. So this one, I think you definitely would have had to do it top and bottom separate, because if you went 4 ninths to the 4th, it turns out to this right here. So 4 ninths to the 4th, you just should do 4 to the 4th and 9 to the 4th. 4 to the 4th over 9 to the 4th, like that. So 256 over 6561. All right, let's look at the back side. We have another problem here, and it is the negative power. So here's what a negative power does. You got 5 halves to the negative 3. The negative will flip. The negative power flips it. So instead of having negative 3, we make it positive 3, but flip it 2/5. So it becomes 2/5 to the 3. 5 halves to the negative 3 is the same as 2/5 to the 3, and then it's just regular. Let's go 2 to the 3rd over 5 to the 3rd. 2 to the 3rd, let's deal without a calculator. What's 2 times 2? 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. And now let's do 5 to the 3rd. 5 times 5 is? And 25 times 5? 125. 25 times 4 is 100. 25 times 5 is 125. All right, so what does the negative power do? Flips it. You know, just whatever. If it's negative 3, we'll flip it and then make it positive 3. All right. Additionally, this one's going to say, hey, you sometimes when you got a problem like this, you can just put it in like it looks into the calculator. So put 6/5 in to the 3rd power, and you get this. 216 over 125. Now think, how are they getting the 216 and the 125? Because 6 to the 3rd is 216. And 5 to the 3rd is, as we just said, 125. And now this last one, I have a little mixture of some issues, including one more issue of the fact that we have a negative fraction. But first, negative exponent does what? Flip it. Now it's still going to be negative, but it's going to be negative 9/7. If I take a negative number and multiply it an even number of times, what happens? Positive. Think, if I go negative times negative, it becomes positive. So negative times negative times negative times negative, it's still positive. So anytime you have a negative number to an even exponent, it goes positive. If you have a negative number to an odd exponent, what happens? Stays negative. So look out for that. This one's going to end up being positive. An even exponent will always be positive. So let's just make it positive 9 to the 4th and 7 to the 4th. I think we did 9 to the 4th on the front page, right? The big number? 6,000 something?
Yeah, it's 6,005.
6,5 what?
6,1.
6,1. And then 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 is pretty big too.
2,401.
Is it what thousand?
2,000.
2,000.
401.
401?
Yeah.
It's like that. 2,401. Now one that we didn't do, I just want to throw one up here. That's odd. Let's have a negative. Give me 2 single-digit numbers.
1.
4, 7.
Let's go 7 and 4. 7 and 4.
Yeah.
And then let's do it to the. Let's do it to the negative 3. All right, real quick. What's that negative 3 power going to do? Flip it. So this is negative 4/7 to the 3. Now this is a negative number, and if you multiply a negative times a third negative, what's the final result?
Negative.
Negative. So the final result is negative. So this is going to be negative whatever 4 to the 3 is over 7 to the 3. And what's 4 times 4 times 4? 4 times 4 is 16. And what's 16 times 4? Rachel said it earlier. 16 times 4 is 64. And now 7 times 7 is 49. I don't know if you can, in your head, tell me what 49 times 7 is. 7 times 7 times 7 is, it's gonna be in the hundreds of some sort. 342? 343? Okay, those are good. 64 over 343. I don't think that reduces. 64 over 343 is what it is. But it is negative, so make sure we get our negative in there. Okay, so sum it up really quick. We talked about exponents, a few tricks. Anything to the 0 power is what? 1. Anything to the 1 power is itself. And when you take a fraction to a power, how do we do it? Take the power and take it to the what? Take it to the bottom. Take it to the numerator and the denominator. What does a negative power do? Flips it. And then remember the last thing, if you have a negative number an even amount of times, it becomes positive. A negative number an odd amount of times stays negative. All right, that sums up 56. All right, let's end this thing with the same beat we started with here. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2,